Hello, this is Ledbetter. What you're about to see here is a playthrough of a game of Czech between myself and my friend Will, who has played the game before with me in playtesting. We are playing a two-player version, and we are playing on the offset board, which I should note we found the setup to be a little long to get into conflict, so I've made some adjustments to the board, which you'll see in a future update. The purpose of this video is to give you a general look at how a Czech game plays out. Each concept in Czech is simple, the chaining, bully, and link systems, but their interaction can be complex and it is not yet a solved game. Generally, piece movement and attack is all about mitigating the RNG of dice rolls, positioning for the least risk and the highest advantage. There are other versions of Czech that have more complex and in-depth rule sets, but I wanted to get this simple version into the hands of this community to bang on and enjoy. Look forward to more releases down the line. While I am the designer of Czech, there are not yet any Czech experts. This is, in all intents and purposes, a brand new game, which is why I've included a variety of board setups in order to get everybody's strategic juices flowing. So let me speak here a little bit to the actual layout of the board and of the UI in Czech. At the top left, you'll see, depending on the phase of action, the different controls that you can use at each point. In the selection phase, you can use the D-pad to move and A to select, for example. At the bottom of the screen, you'll also see the same moves a little bit more explicitly. On the bottom left corner, you'll see last, and that's going to show you the last piece to move and what coordinate they move to. It'll also indicate the outcome of an attack. Speaking of attack, we have attack and defense on the right side, and when one has occurred, you will see the resulting dice roll of each, and you'll see a little star icon that denotes the winner. Obviously, high roll wins, but if there is a tie, defender wins ties. If there is a bully, that bully will show a little +1 by the attack, as well as in the chaining attack, but it will also already be incorporated into the dice roll, which means dice rolls can go as high as 7, which would supersede a tie, even of double sixes. Now, to address what's been happening on screen while I've been describing everything, we have been going through an initial phase of different piece movement and grouping our pieces together and moving them around in order to attack. You can see that the open circle, myself, I was trying to draw an attack from these dark squares. As we go, you'll see that some of the video is sped up just for expediency, and then we come down to one-time speed in cases of an attack here. So the square just attacked the open circle and is now deciding whether to continue with the chain. Of note, you can make selection with the crank, which you see the crank indicator on the bottom right. And in just a moment, we were talking it over during the lull here. You see black has attacked circle, and since there's no more moves, he cancels out. Now it becomes circle's turn, and we go back into advanced speed. Czech tends to move in two phases, strategic movement and grouping of your units, and then absolute bloodbath when it comes time to attack. Because units are often grouped together, chains are often invoked, which means that the turn order can change multiple times within a chain attack sequence. Uh, and Usually you're attacking with an advantage. So if you have a chain attack ability, you typically want to take it because you get that +1 on the dice roll. Now earlier, the dark squares took out two of the light circles, but in this last chain, you see that the light circle was actually able to respond and take out several dark squares. As we move on, the light circles will not have as much fortune. Um, the next chain attack will wipe them out down to a single piece, and at the end, you will see the light circle attempting to draw an attack from the dart squares because the defender has an advantage. So if they were able to draw an attack, they might win, and if winning, could potentially chain on to take more pieces from dart square. That doesn't happen, and while light circle does take a piece eventually, the that side is wiped out. One other thing to note is so far as scoring goes, all the pieces that you take from an opponent are reflected in your score on your side. Now, at the end of the game, the remaining pieces that you have on the board are also added to your score. So it's not necessarily about wiping one character out to where there's nothing left on the board, because in a four-player game, that outcome might be a little bit more obtuse. So this is really a score-based game. You want to take as many pieces and retain as many pieces of your own as you possibly can. When you have an end state such as the one here, where it would be very, very difficult for the light circle to uh, overcome the odds and take out all of the dark squares. Um, Two players can end the game at any time just by docking the crank. The remaining pieces will be added to their score, and the game will be over. You can also dock the crank at any point and save the game, which is useful for if you have started one up and you need to stop and then continue later on. So that's the game of Czech. You can see that Will wiped the floor with me. He beat me 12 to 4. Now, different setups have different amount of starting pieces. I haven't particularly standardized it as of yet. The game started off as a four-player game with six pieces aligned per side. But for playability, I wanted to make sure that we had two-player options as well. So there's actually more of a variety of setup in the two-player than in the four-player versions. And I really am just interested in seeing how people react to all of this and how we strategize and learn how to play this game in the future. That's really why I put it out because this is the fun part for me, watching you guys bang on it and enjoying it. So thank you for playing Check. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope to play a game with you soon.